Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got an interesting knife overview kind of to share with you guys. This is the Spyderco Dodo, and I thought that you could just go out and get these when I unboxed it. That was just a couple of weeks ago. Turns out no, I wasn't super duper familiar with this knife, but I've learned a lot, and one of those things is, wow, these go for a lot of money on eBay. Don't go do that. Don't go buy one of these on eBay. I would recommend against that. But it is interesting. This is definitely one of the weirdest looking knives I have ever seen in my entire life. And it's a Spyderco. Those are always fun. You guys always seem to enjoy those. So anyways, thank you so much so we can get his information there. There we go. Coopage_98 for sending this in for review. I really appreciate that. Give him a follow. Also, thanks to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. There's a link for Patreon right down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. So it's going to kind of be a review, kind of be an overview. I'm going to kind of move quickly. I don't know that it makes a whole lot of sense to drag this on with this being a knife that you can't get anymore. So let's go ahead and do just a couple of size comparisons here. How about up against the Ontario Rat Model 1? There you go. How about up against the Ontario Rat Model 2? Yeah, smaller than that. Smaller than the Rat 2. How about up against the Spyderco Para 3? There we go. Still smaller. And how about the Bug Out? That's probably all the more we need to do there for size comparisons. Let's go ahead and do carry profile real quick. Up against the Spyderco Para 3. You can see here, pretty thin knife. Very thin, actually. How about length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3? This is a really tall knife, considering where that bump is. It's actually taller than both the PM2 and Para 3. Nowhere near as long as the PM2, but oddly enough, handle length is longer than the Para 3 because the ratios in this thing are super duper weird. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. Get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of the description that talks about the tools and things I use on this channel. The pivots. Looks like maybe we have a little bit of an issue going on with the pivot, or maybe this is just not the right size. I thought for sure that looked like a T8, but I'm wondering, is it a T9? No, you know what? It's a T10 and I'm just being stupid. Okay, sorry about that. I was like, why is this just spinning? Okay, yeah, there we go. The pivot is a T10. The rest of these screws are T6, and they look like typical Spyderco screws. What I'm saying is be careful. When you're dealing with Spyderco screws and you're dealing with T6, be careful. Make sure you have the right tools, the right fitting stuff. This is a ball bearing lock, and most likely, like the cage lock, like the axis lock, it's going to involve pulling and assembling and holding things in place as you reassemble. To be honest, I have not reassembled this or disassembled it, but anybody who has, I'm guessing that that's what's involved with it, so it's probably not going to be the most fun thing in the entire world. Fortunately, I don't see a lot of reason to disassemble this guy. I think that the construction is of the type that you can just blow it out with compressed air, right? So it's a pretty rare circumstance where you really have to disassemble it. If you do, you're going to be dealing with not necessarily a multitude of parts, but probably just a level of complexity that most people are not used to, including myself. So, you know, be careful. Let's go ahead and measure blade stock thickness. It's so odd. We're going to talk about that action here in a second because it feels like it's loose, but it isn't. Blade stock thickness on the Dodo is coming in at about 100, and it says 121. It's probably about 120 thousandths. What are we looking at for materials? In this case, we're looking at the backspacer back here is steel. The scales are completely G10. There's no steel or anything countersunk in there. And then, of course, we have steel blade, and we have a steel ball bearing lock. Sorry, I'm trying to turn the flashlight off. Weight, this has to weigh something like 1.5 to 2 ounces. That's more than that, 2.6. It's so weird. It feels so lightweight. In any case, it's under the 3 ounce mark. first thing people are going to point out is, oh my God, the ratios, the blade to handle ratio. I just can't. I can't with that. It's, my life is over because of blade to handle ratios. Blah. Okay. Go outside. This exists and it's discontinued, right? It's not hurting anybody. Yeah, the ratios on this thing are way off. And I bet you, I don't know for sure, but I bet you Eric Glesser designed it this way on purpose, right? Now, that being said, I can completely understand why it bothers you. This is one of the ugliest things I've ever seen in my entire life. I get it, now being a Spyderco fan, right? When we talk about knives, when people complain about the ratios, the legendary Para 3, people are, oh, I just can't get over the ratios. I can't do it. Ugh. Right? Well, here you go. Look at this. Oh, man. I get it, though, being a fan of the Para 3. I found that, you know, the blade to handle ratio doesn't matter nearly as much to me because I want to be comfortable with the knife and have enough blade that it's going to get most jobs done throughout the day, right? This is a really short blade and a huge handle. That's what we're dealing with here. Have we gotten through everything? Oh, we weighed it, right? Anyways, what I was going to say is blade length to overall weight ratios, it's all over the place. It's all thrown off, right? So you can't, the ratios are nowhere near what people want them to be. But the fact is that this is a little, you know, super ergonomic utilitarian knife that weighs less than 3 ounces. So despite the ratios just being absolutely haywire, yeah, it's a sub 3 ounce object. Really, the biggest issue is that it's very tall. It's going to be a pocket hog, right? But if you don't carry anything else in your pocket besides a knife, then you should be okay. Okay, moving quickly through this. This is obviously meant to be extremely ergonomic. And let me tell you guys, this is a hand melter. And when I say that, I mean every last line. There's really only, I guess maybe you could say that that's its own position, but there's really one main position, depending on where you want to put your thumb. It's really one main position for your hand, and this grip is so comfortable. You are so unbelievably locked in. Like, I want to do some type of pole cut or draw cut with this so bad. You know, like through sheetrock, or, you know, maybe shaping a piece of paper or digging into a package or whatever. That is a wonderful ergonomic experience. Real quick, what do these go for on eBay? This blue guy right here, I just looked it up right before I started the video. $350. No. I mean, listen, if you're like dedicated to collecting the most obscure Spyderco knives out there, then knock yourself out, right? But no. What was this? This could not have been more than $120 when it was brand new. Golden Colorado USA Earth, that's great. S30V and G10, right? Judging by what the Manix 2, PM2, and Para 3 were going for when this was available, I'm going to guess this was no more than $120, but I could be wrong. This is not a $300 knife. It's not a $350, it's not a $250 knife. It's not a $200 knife, right? So if you're going to hunt one of these down, just understand, you know, that's you're just buying the demand. That's just what you're paying for right now, is the demand for it. But the ergonomics, very, very comfortable. And also the manipulation of this ball bearing lock, which we've seen before in the Phoenix, and I'm sure there's at least one other one. In fact, I know there is. These are super duper strong. And the crazy thing is you pull it back and it just drops. Like, it drops so readily that it almost feels like, I thought for sure, I was like, oh, okay, so it needs to be tightened. There's no way that thing is solid on lockout. It just feels, it's so drop shutty, it feels floppy, right? No, it's I'm dead serious. It's completely and totally solid. There is no movement whatsoever. Incredibly solid lockout, right? Let's talk about this blade, because I think that's the highlight of it. I mean, despite the you know, initial ugliness of it, right? But the blade is this short little, it looks like a dodo beak, right? And we have this bill, which is about as excellent a bill as you could want for getting into a package. Digging that blade into the side of a package is... I mean, it's just perfect for that. It's perfect for a lot of things, right? I mean, I'm sure that there are, you know, other applications for this that are not, geared towards cutting open boxes and things, right? But, considering on this channel, I look at knives as tools. I use them as tools. That's where my mind goes, right? So that's what we're going to talk about. Yeah, for sure. Now, the downside to this is, can you imagine sharpening this? And I'm not talking about you guys who are like, I've been sharpening for 20 years. Master sharpener, I know how to do that. It's no big deal for me. That's good. That's good. I'm glad that you know how to sharpen that. I'm not going to be nearly as proficient, and I can tell you that the vast majority of the people watching are also not going to be that proficient at sharpening. So when that time comes, and honestly, you could continue to use this for an extended period, way past the point where this edge is actually dull, because that beak down there, that point of the beak is going to remain so sharp that just because of the curvature here, dragging that, even if it's a dull apex, it's going to continue to just shred through like nothing. It does. I mean, it'll do that so far past the point that it's dull, right? Because of the shape of that blade. But when you finally do have to bring it back to life, it's not going to be super fun. There's not a lot of it to sharpen. I'm sure most people, even an amateur like me, could figure it out. But it's not going to be super duper fun. As far as its ability to slice, it looks like maybe it's been resharpened. Should we give it a try on maybe a piece of paper here? Just curious. I mean, okay, yeah. Honestly, it does slice. I'm legitimately impressed by that. I can't tell if this edge has been redone by somebody. I'm not 100% convinced that's a factory edge, but you know what, guys? Maybe it is. In any case, yeah, it actually will, it'll slice a little bit better than I thought it would. I really thought that curvature would be weird for slicing. It is pretty thin down behind the edge, It does taper down to a relatively thin edge, but this is like little teeny tiny convenient draw cuts or tearing into something or just sort of breaching into something type of, really, the blade shape is extremely, extremely utilitarian for a regular day-to-day. Obviously, if your occupation involves chopping pineapples in half, this is not going to be the knife for you. Now, if you're looking at this and going, I don't care about ratios. I love the idea of a short, little hyper ergonomic pocket knife where I can get just the right lock in, right? But I love that. That would just make my life so much easier. But gosh, $350 or whatever they go for on eBay, there's no way. Guys, it's not S30V, but essentially you can get this very similar experience out of a cold steel tough light, which is very similar. And honestly, you don't get that cool hawk bill or anything like that. But if you want a cheap alternative to this isn't anything special. This is FRN, or I'm sorry, it's some sort of injection mold plastic material, and this is AUS 8. But these are like what, $25 to $30. So yeah, if you're looking for that type of experience and you don't necessarily need the whole Spyderco element in there, then there you go. There's a cheap alternative. You're not going to have this little bill replicated here. That's the coolest part and the weirdest part, right? Yeah, moving on here. This is a completely and totally ambidextrous knife because of the lock. So fortunately, we do have a mounting position on the left-handed side for that wire clip. So if you do want to hunt one of these down and you're left-handed, you can still use it. That's great. The knife has no pivot lash, and I think it's actually centering. Yeah, it is centered up. Feels very ready to come flying out of there. Can you flick it open? Yeah, you can. Can you thumb flick it open? Yeah, you totally can. It's very smooth. You can do right, if you want to. It's kind of a weird knife to do that with. Yeah, this is a super duper, like if you buy this, it's almost a shame. Listen to me. I was about to say it's a shame to have something like this collected and not use it. Oh man, am I a hypocrite. I got lots of knives that I collect and don't use. Your money, you do whatever you want with it. This knife screams, tool until it is destroyed. Like this is the type of knife that, you really, because of how short the blade is, because of what it's made out of, right? You really could just beat the tar out of this thing until it disintegrates, right? It's not gonna be like the all-purpose knife. There's definitely gonna be situations where you're gonna need a longer blade at some point, right? But for most things, yeah, just the shape of the blade and the angle where you would approach the cut, a lot of strength in that. That blade is just going to tear into stuff, especially, really dense things that might be hard to even push like a really, really sharp edge into, being able to dig into it and pull backwards with that beak is going to put a lot of strength. It's going to shred through a lot of stuff that might otherwise, you know, not be as easily cut. Is that a good sentence? Yeah. This thing is incredibly capable. What it lacks in total cutting edge, it makes up for in strength of the cut and ability to tear into material. That's pretty cool. I like this. I wish that they would bring it back. I think they did an M4 version of this not too long ago. Maybe it was a long time ago. I can't remember. I wish they'd bring this back. Do a lightweight version of this, Spyderco. You know, I don't know about S30V. It'd be cool to see a lightweight version in S45VN. I think that'd be great. I think a lot of people would like it. Again, if you don't like, if you're like a ratios person and you know you're big into blade to handle ratio being as near to 1-to-1 as possible, right? And maybe you also hate birds and how birds look, then you're gonna hate this. But I think a lot of people could find a good place for this in their life. This is neat. Obviously, I'm not going to tell people to go rush out and buy it because you're going to have to pay crazy secondary market prices. I am going to put this in my Spyderco Knives playlist, and I think a revival of this in a lightweight form would be something that a lot of people would enjoy. But that's just my opinion. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you did enjoy this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.